Welcome back to Major Misconduct. I'm the Major Scott Taylor. That's the Misconduct. Curt Keelback, the voice of the movie Goon. We're going to talk about the motion picture Goon, the movie which stars Curt Keelback. Along with Jay Baruchel and...
they're my co-stars,
Sean William Scott and...
actually, it was a lot of fun.
Liev Schreiber, yeah.
It was fun.
We'll talk about that.
Good movie, too.
First, I want to talk about a friend of ours, a guy we like a lot, who plays for the hockey team, the Anaheim Ducks.
I think I know of whom you speak.
Teemu Selanne.
Yes.
Scored his 21st goal last night. A tremendous season he's having at the age of 41.
He's awesome.
And here's the most interesting part about that. 2 months ago, Bob Murray, the general manager, said, I'll trade everybody. I don't want... The only 2 people on this team that are untouchables are Teemu Selanne and Saku Koivu. Thought that was interesting. I thought for a minute he was going to turn it into the Finnish national team. But he was ready to trade Corey Perry and Ryan Getzlaf and Bobby Ryan and certainly Lubomir Vishnowsky and all the players that he has on this hockey team. He was ready to dump them all. He was so upset with the way they were playing. Suddenly, they've just gone on the best road trip in the history of the franchise, 5-1-2, 5 wins in an 8-game road trip. They've come back.
They could have gone 8-0 too.
They could have, yes. They've come back home and won again. Suddenly, they're 8 points out of a playoff spot with about 20 games to play. They've got a very good opportunity to make the playoffs. This has been a whale of a story the last 2 months.
It's been a heck of a story, and really, I think what kind of puts an exclamation point on it, although there's a couple, was you mentioned that they had that 8-game road swing, and they came back. Now, you've traveled with teams enough to know when you come back from a long road trip, that first game is always difficult.
You're always a downer.
Well, they came back and they beat the Chicago Blackhawks.
3-1.
And now they're back out on the road again. Yeah.
And who had a goal and an assist? A 41-year-old guy.
Teemu Selanne was arguably the best player on the ice in that game.
First
from
start.
what I saw of it last night. Yeah, he's playing like he did 15 years ago. I mean, it's incredible to watch. And when he scored the goal, he had a big smile on his face. Like he's having the time of his life. And every year there's talk it might be his last year. I certainly hope it's not. He looks like he can play 2-3 more years.
He looks
the way he's going.
Well,
but overall, that team, in their last 25 games, they're 17-4-4. That's over 700 hockey, well over 700 hockey. And it's just an incredible story. And Teemu Selanne's been consistent all year long, but the difference, I guess, really is the coaching, obviously, of Bruce Boudreau. I hate to say that to Randy Carlyle. Maybe things have... But at the time Carlyle was still there, Corey Perry and Ryan Getzlaf and Bobby Ryan, but particularly Getzlaf. Getzlaf was playing bad hockey. At that time. Anytime you saw him, he was playing poor hockey. Now, he's back to the Ryan Getzlaf, one of the most talented players in the league. Corey Perry won the Hart Trophy last year. He's getting close to that style of hockey. I don't think he's quite there yet. And Bobby Ryan, he's like a Teemu Selanne in some ways, in the way he skates and the way he shoots. Yeah, and so they're a pretty good hockey club, and they got great goaltending in Jonas Hill.
Well, that's been a big difference, too, is the goaltending suddenly turned around when Boudreau arrived. And I don't know if that had anything to do with Randy Carlyle. And we're friends with Randy Carlyle. Mm-hmm. We like the guy. I wouldn't mind seeing him as the head coach in Winnipeg someday. Randy Carlyle is a very good hockey coach and a very good guy. The problem is what happens so often in these situations. A team turned off. For reasons we don't know, a team had turned off to Randy Carlyle.
Unless you're Barry Trotz, you can only coach the same team for a certain length of time. I think Lindy Ruff may be finding that out in Buffalo right now.
Yes, he's probably finding out in Buffalo.
After a while, no matter how good a coach you are, it's time for a change. And that's why, and you go usually from the tough kind of coach like Randy Carlyle would be to a nice guy kind of coach and to maybe a Claude Noel, although I don't know Claude Noel that well. And that's why oftentimes you see a club go from one side to the other. I always thought Calgary had kind of a weird situation there when they had Sutter upon Sutter. There's no levity there. No, you got to have somebody you can approach and be comfortable with. And you can't be comfortable around guys that are always frowning.
One of these days we're going to spend a lot of time talking about Barry Trotz, because that is an incredible story. From the start of that franchise to today, he's probably a better coach now than he was when he started.
He's arguably the best coach in hockey. I mean, how can you stay that long? And, he's got some talent there now, particularly on the blue line, and pretty good goaltender, Pecorini. But still, year after year after year, he keeps them in the hunt on what has been, for the most part, a limited budget, although it's starting to loosen up a little bit there.
Well, it has to loosen up if they want to keep Suter and Weber.
Yep.
If they're going to keep those guys, they better loosen up the budget. But the reality is that Nashville has always played well. We saw a team with more talent spending more money in Anaheim drop right off the face of the earth the first half of this season, and suddenly they have put it together and may take a run at a playoff spot in the West. It is kind of, the New Jersey Devils came back when Jacques Lemaire took over last year. This year, Bruce Boudreau takes over in Anaheim, and the same thing happens to the Ducks. Question is, are there enough games left to get there?
Yeah, I mean, they could play. They could continue to play 700 hockey the rest of the way. They still might not make it.
Yep, you're right. When we come back, we're going to talk about the two best players in the National Hockey League, and I'm going to say why one of them will be MVP and the other won't. When we come back on Major Misconduct, live from the Sal's on Leela in Winnipeg, Manitoba.